So brand new launch from Cobra for 2025. We're going to take a look at the drivers in this video, Dark Speed Adapt. Loads of tech to go through and one huge talking point that is different from any other brand that we'll see in 2025. We're going to run it through in this video. So just before we run through all the tech and hit some shots, just want to go through the 4 head options that Cobra are offering. So we saw Dark Speed, we're now seeing DS Adapt, so adaptation of the Dark Speed range, a little bit more blacked out, a bit more stealth looking. It looks initially, first instincts, really pretty cool to be honest. So as I say, 4 different heads. We've got the Adapt LS, so as you can appreciate, the low spin version for golfers trying to get that spin number down. We've got the Adapt X, which is going to be probably the biggest or most popular option for a lot of golfers. Adjustable weight, so we can move the launch up and down, quite forgiving, again pretty quick on club head speed in terms of aerodynamics. Big talking point there from Cobra. We've then got a Max K, so this is the 10K, so first time Cobra delved into this 10K driver, so ultimate forgiveness as you can probably appreciate. And then we've got the Max D, which is more of your draw version. Okay, so 4 different heads to suit all different types of golfers. In this particular video, I'm going to really focus on the X and the LS. The 10K version, I'm going to do a separate video on that, and I'm going to put that up against possibly one of the market leaders in that 10K area, is the Ping and the G430 10K, and maybe a couple of others as well. So I'll do that as a standalone video. So just before I carry on with the video, I want to thank today's sponsors, Eagle Links Golf, who make high quality head covers and golfing accessories like scorecard holders, towels, ball markers, etc. All themed around football teams. So if you follow a big team, you can go and grab a head cover from them. I've got a discount code MNGolfCoach. Punch that in at checkout and that will give you 15% discount off anything on their website. Right, so let's quickly talk a little bit about technology that is going in there. There's a lot of carryover technology from what we saw in the Dark Speed, but some extra bits in there as well. So loads of carbon on the bottom, as you can appreciate, loads of carbon on the top, as most drivers are nowadays, so saving that weight, redistributing it. And probably what I saw in the Dark Speed from 2024 was aerodynamics, especially in the LS, was very sort of quick through the air. Definitely saw some extra club head speed. So again, huge talking point from Cobra in terms of work of just fine tuning that aerodynamics, reducing less drag. Again, you're probably going to hear this on a lot of the brands in 2025, you know, in terms of trying to just get that club to move a little bit quicker, because if you can do that, you're generally going to see a little bit more ball speed off the club face, which is more distance. So we've also got more of a deeper forward CG location in these drivers. So again, trying to really help on reducing spin. If we can reduce spin, that ball is going to go forward a lot more and generally hits the ball much further. As long as, and this is probably where you've got to make sure you get fitted for these types of drivers, is you get that launch in the right area. So you're getting the loft right, and this will take us on to this neck sleeve. Neck sleeve is a very new concept, completely changed from previous models. We have now got 33 settings. That's right, 33. Just get your head around that for a second. Very confusing. For a fitter, I'm excited because it gives me loads more options to really fine tune that driver in there. The huge concern I've got is the golfer who will just go and buy this, get this wrench out and start going, moving it around. It's going to be really, really confusing. We're going to talk a little bit more detail about that. I might just do a separate video just on that neck sleeve alone, because there's a lot to sort of absorb in there, but it's different. So let's start off with the X. So sitting straight away in that playing position, great looking driver. Really like this matte finish on it. Tiny bit of carbon, but we don't really see that massively from the playing position until you look up close to it. So matte, a little bit of a framed edge around the front, sits incredibly square. I like that. I quite like the new etching on the face as well. A little bit tightly sort of look to it, isn't it, in that look? And it frames the ball really nice, I think, you know, with those 2 sort of vertical lines there, dark bit, then more grooving etching on the extreme of the heel and the toe. Really frames that golf ball there. Very subtle C Cobra logo as an alignment aid. Sits great behind the ball. Okay, let's get one underway. So 9-degree head. I've got this set at A1. New system setting here now. A1, so I'm just setting this at 9 degree. Okay, nice hit. Just slightly left side, not bad strike. The strike wasn't bad, should I say. Spins pretty low and a nice sort of run out there. Okay, so first instincts, very carbon sound, as you're going to expect. Good solid sound, muted, nothing too loud, abrasive there. So what we see when we flip this X head over, we've got two movable weights from the front to the back. We've got a 3 gram and we've got a 10 gram. I've currently got this 10 gram sat at the back, so that's helping in terms of a little bit of flight there, a little bit of extra height, maybe a little bit more spin, creating a little bit more forgiveness. Then we can flip those two if you're the player who maybe just wants to see that flight a little bit lower, trying to pull some spin down a little bit more, but then just bear in mind you might just lose an element of forgiveness when you do that. Interesting, I saw online that Ricky Fowler's actually preferred to put the X in his bag. Maybe you sort of see those types of golfers maybe go more on that LS, but you like this sort of forgiveness levels of the X and the fact that it did sit extremely neutral in that playing position. So interesting to hear that from a tour player. But great head behind the ball, you know, confident sparring. I think they've done some work on the shaping of the head from previous models. I think Cobra always been sometimes that little bit of that triangular look in the head. This looks to be a little bit more rounded, but still quite long from that front to the back. Ooh, right, okay, that's a little bit low in the face. Absolutely bullet straight, but was definitely low. Interesting to just see. So ball speed's not too bad from that strike. Yeah, spin's quite controlled. So maybe I've got that heavy 10 gram weight at the back, typically increase a little bit spin, but with that extra weight internally forward in the head, that does help with controlling that spin. That's not bad as a miss there. Oh, that's a better strike. That's a great ball flight. Very solid feel to that. Take that one as a ball strike, a little bit quicker club head speed, good ball speed. There's a controlled spin, yeah, best numbers so far on that particular one. Oh, and again, gorgeous flight. Feels very good off that club face. Spin is definitely in that lower bracket. Obviously, we've still got the LS to go out here, which will be an interesting one to see. Plus, I've also got the option of putting that 10 gram weight forward in this head to even drop that more than what it is at the moment. Feels really good off the club face there. I quite like that. Okay, right, so just switching the heads over now and moving into the LS driver. So naturally, as we see in LS drivers, low spin is what that stands for, is a little bit more of a compact head, and we definitely sort of see that. So from the front to the back, not quite as elongated in that front, a little bit more of a squat head, a little bit deeper on that club face, and then we just sort of see the skirt, the back edge. We saw this in the dark speed from last year, just sort of rise up a little bit more aggressively. A little bit better on that aerodynamics on this particular head. Again, loads of carbon, blacked out, beautiful. Now 3 movable weights on this. We've got 2 3 gram weights and 1 10 gram weight. So obviously we can move that around. So the 10 gram weight sat in the heel is what they're classing as a neutral setting. Okay, so we can obviously move that to the back to increase that little bit of launch again, and then we could also move it into the toe to create that little bit of that sort of fade effect. So with the LS, maybe the player who wants to see a bit more of a compact look down by that golf ball, and obviously is trying to maybe get that spin down a little bit low, would go into this. Now again, sits fantastic behind the ball. Same matte finish, everything's pretty much the same, just a little bit more of a squatter look to it. Sits incredibly square, as you'd expect from an LS driver. So really, really nice in the way that sort of sits. Oh, that's great. That's bulleted. That's had a little bit of a different sound to that, to be honest. That did sound not quite, what's the right word there? I'm not sure, to be honest. Just felt a little bit different, just sounded a little bit different. Yeah, great numbers. A little bit more club head speed there. I think that aerodynamics is, I think it's just a little bit of a faster head, this LS. I definitely sort of saw that through testing and through fittings as well in last year's dark speed driver in the LS version. Oof, got it on a bit of string today. That is good. Great strike there. Again, club head speed, a little bit quicker there. 112.6, that's pretty quick for me at the moment. 164, launch around 12. Spin's not as low as maybe what we'd like to sort of think, to be honest. Now, both the X and the LS come in a 9 and a 10.5 loft options. Now, obviously talking about this neck sleeve with 33 settings, it's pretty intense is probably the word I would sort of use. There's loads of letters, there's loads of numbers. You initially look at it as we spin this around with the shaft fitted, there's a lot of sort of numbers. Now, when you take this out of its, you know, loosen it off, remove the shaft, it's mind-blowing of what you're going to be looking at. So Very, very confusing, I would sort of say, maybe for the punter when you first look at it. It was to me, and I'm a fitter, it was pretty like, oh, hang on a minute, let me just get my head around all this, you know, do you know what I mean? So, and they've actually popped a QR code on the Hosel at the back. So phone, bump, QR code brings up a graph you can use. I'm going to pop that on screen now for you. And when you look at this graph, I just want you to sort of just absorb the amount of settings. He's just got to laugh at this. The amount of settings there are on the screen. Okay, so A1 you can see is right in the middle, so that's sitting it as the loft describes on the head. And then if you want to go higher, you can see you go up to B, to D, to C, and the numbers. And then if you want to go lower in the flight, you're going down to E, to F, to G. Left is obviously to the left side of that graph, and the right is to the right. So you can change the loft going up and down by up to 2 degrees, which is the most you're going to see. A lot of the brands you see you can go up 2, but only maybe down 1. Okay, so this you can go up and down by up to 2, but lots of options in between, as in 0.3 to 0.4 degree differences, which is, I mean, gee, that is just minimal there. So I don't know whether this is a little bit overkill. Again, I've got my fitting cap on here. I look at that and go, great, I've got everything, every option, extreme options as well as a fitter, or as tools in that fitting environment to move somebody away from where they are and then maybe start down and back. As I mentioned, I think if you buying this driver off the rack, you're not getting fitted, and I appreciate not everybody can do, but you're buying this off the rack, you look at that and go, well, where the hell do I start on there? You know? And then you've also got lie angle, and you can change this lie going up 2 degrees and also flat by 2 degrees with lots in between as well. Post comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts as to whether that is just absolutely mind-blowingly confusing, or whether do you feel that is a great advantage as a golfer. As long as you understand and what you're trying to do, and I think you've got to be relatively consistent on your shots as well, haven't you, to really fine point, you know, am I D3 or am I E4? I mean, look at the difference between those two. I mean, that's a strike alone would change that by more than anything in terms of a setting. Just a touch up the left, but I struck it again pretty good. Definitely a little bit of a different feel with the LS. I'm not saying it's a bad feel, but it's just slightly different to the X. Big fan of the way that looks behind that golf ball though. Really like both of those drivers, to be honest. I just slightly probably prefer the LS just because that a little bit more compact look. Okay, that's right off the bottom. It's very straight, but it's right off the bottom. So just dropping a tiny bit of ball speed. The spin will be an interesting one. Yeah, 2.7. So actually not getting as low a spin with this than I did with that X, which is interesting. Oh, that's a great one to finish up on. That is out there. Bit of a launch on that 12.4, 2 spin, 278, probably the longest carry. Okay, so there we go. There's some shots hit with the DS Adapt. I appreciate there's a 10K version to hit there as well. As I mentioned, I'm going to do a separate video on that up against other 10K drivers, which I think will be an interesting comparison. And then there's obviously that Max D, which is for a draw bias driver, which is more obviously aimed at your slicers. Appreciate you watching the video as always. Hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.